Thanks, Councillor Kidd. Yeah, great question. So if we talk about kind of the modelling, economic benefit of GVA, so gross value added, and if we look at kind of Doncaster's economy in 2022 was around 6 billion. And so when we employed Jacobs, a well-known international company supporting us on the kind of economic business case, we described the benefits roughly around kind of 2 to 3 billion to our economy of having an airport, or that South Yorkshire Airport City concept within the region, which is hugely significant when you take 6 billion to 2 to 3 billion. We recognise that obviously South Yorkshire Mail Combined Authority have also had their consultants looking at kind of that GVA, and obviously similar quantums of kind of between 1.5, 2.5 billion GVA. And then we look at kind of the benefit cost ratio. So the Jacobs work employed by ourselves, they identified in the economic business case around that kind of 9 to 1 benefit cost ratio. Now, to let you know, anything above 1 in a benefit cost ratio is seen as extremely good from a kind of benefit cost. So we had 9 to 1. Now we recognise that obviously Simca had some further assurance pieces of work undertaken, and they're kind of at that kind of 2 to 3 quantum in regards to the benefit cost ratio. So still extremely good for a proposition. You asked me about the kind of the economic benefits. So there's many, and obviously the social benefits as well. We've modelled in obviously with Jacobs around the growth in jobs, direct and both indirect. So when you talk about 5,500 direct jobs and 6,000 indirect jobs, that quantum of around 12,000 around that kind of South Yorkshire Airport City is hugely significant, especially if you take, for instance, Wheatley Hall Road in its heyday, when you had ICI, Rockware and Case, they were employing roughly around 20,000 jobs just on Wheatley Hall Road. The other piece is around that kind of skills piece, and I'm also recognising that there's something for us about an airport, about lifting the ambition in communities. And as you can imagine, you know, this is such a huge game changer for a lot of our deprived communities and I want to say classes mini towns, and it presents a significant opportunity to widen individuals' aspirations. And the fact that you've got the likes of partners such as kind of Munich supporting around what does that kind of education and skills proposition look like for ourselves, as well as working with the kind of South Yorkshire education institutions and the private sector, it's hugely significant. I think the other thing is the fact that you've got a number of existing businesses on site who operate in the aviation market, and we're very keen, as they are, to obviously support their growth. And that's brilliant because they are organisations that like to appoint from the local supply chain and recognise in regards to kind of that wage level is significantly higher than the national average, never mind the Doncaster average. So, yeah, that answers your question.
If I could just ask a quick question to do with that. The cost benefit ratio, why were we so far off the mark with 9 to 1 originally, please?
Yeah, so as you can imagine from a South Yorkshire Airport City concept, we talk about kind of the wider, so that from a South Yorkshire wide level. We also recognise that, look, we've got one of the largest development sites attached to the airport. So if we talk about the IQ site, it's over 3 million square foot of land. As you can imagine, commercially, there are a number of manufacturing companies, maintenance, repair, overall facilities, hangars, companies that are presenting themselves that are very keen to look at locating here at the airport. So we did, on the basis of kind of the market interest and recognising this was a calculation done around about 2024, was at that 9.1 level. But obviously the work that South Yorkshire Mail Combined Authority did wanted to be a bit more on the conservative level. And obviously they're at a very different quantum, still in a good level. But we recognise that obviously we need to update our business case, the one that was produced by Jacobs, and we're currently remodelling the kind of benefit cost ratio, just to kind of make sure that we are very clear about exactly what it is and what it isn't. But I think just to kind of confirm and provide you assurance as a committee is that, like I say, is we're at that quantum of a plus kind of 2 to 3 on worst case and best case at 9, which is fantastic.
And finally, can that cost rate benefit ratio go up and down throughout the life of the airport?
Sorry, yeah, can I suppose it might be helpful really for me just coming from the financial plan perspective and how that impacts on the BCR and things like that, because a calculation of the benefits is based on the passenger forecasts. So if you remember when we did the initial forecast, it was done on a specific basis, looking at the catchments across and going down to a really, really, district data, a low-level data level, looking at previous, where people have previously travelled. It was kind of based on a really granular level, and we had, so the original business case and the financial viability assessment was done on higher passenger forecasts, which then quantified into obviously higher benefits. Now, as part of the assurance, we have the passenger forecasts have been done on a slightly different methodology, and the ones that we've kind of included in our current financial plan are the lower to be prudent. So in terms of, so that impacts on the benefits. So if the passengers are higher, then the benefits will obviously increase, also linked to the cost as well. So it kind of, the overall benefit cost ratio takes into account the cost as well. So we are, as Christian said, we are going to do some work to have a look at the jobs and look at the passenger forecasts and how that then equates.
That makes sense.